Welcome out to another episode of It's All Been Trucked Before. This time the Lorelei Signal. Yeah, it looks really good if you like blonde women, which I do. But you watch it, so you kind of know it's okay. Other things that are more than okay on the IABD network, along with us here at It's All Been Trucked Before, Syndicated Nightmares, one of our newest shows. Every Wednesday, Syndicated Nightmares takes a deep dive into an episode of Freddy's Nightmares, a horror anthology TV show from the late 1980s based off the Nightmare on Elm Street film series. Don't worry if you haven't seen the show. Host Dave Berman and Michelle Hansen will give a detailed synopsis of every episode before tearing into it like Freddy would to a scared teenager. Join the week by week as they make your nightmares fun. Check out Syndicated Nightmares and all our programs at IABDpresents.com. And while we're there, while we're talking it, you know I'm going to mention it. Just like you knew I was going to mention the beautiful blonde women here on the Lorelei Signal. Right? That's the Lorelei Signal. That's right? It's that one. Yeah. Patreon.com/IABD. Great way to support us and get great benefits. You can hear behind the scenes of Trek. If we haven't broken the fourth wall enough, hear it smashed. And a lot of other shows, you get great benefits. You hear the shows before other people hear them. You hear bonus stuff. Patreon.com/IABD. A little goes a long way. So go there, help us out. Also, this weekend, March 9th, at Mad Lab, the mothership, it's back. The IABD It's All Been Done radio hour is back. 5 o'clock, new time for 2019. Get there 4:45. GBG is back, opening 4:45, March 9th. It's a Saturday. Tickets available, madlab.net. Oh, maybe you've never heard of the It's All Been Done radio hour? It's serials. It's like the old time, but the new time. It's updated. There's one called Universe Journey, kind of like Star Trek. You'll dig that. You'll dig all of them. It's funny. It's fun. You're at Mad Lab. Stick around for Happy Pills after that. Anyway, all the details, madlab.net or IABDpresents.com. IABDpresents.com. You know who's not? They don't care about this. The Lorelei Signal. They're beckoning me in. They're beckoning you in on It's All Been Trekked Before.
Welcome out to another episode of It's All Been Trekked Before. Your crew is here.
This is Steven.
And Keith.
And Jimmy-Jerome. And we are talking the animated series episode, The Lorelei Signal.
Whatever.
That was a perfect impression.
You're jumping like halfway down my notes there.
First impressions of the episode.
There were some problems, probably. I think there might have been a couple, but...
Really? You saw problems?
One or two.
Oh, okay.
But it was...
That was perfect. Obviously not.
Like, one of my last notes about it, though, is that they ended up touching on something actually really interesting, scientifically groundbreaking as far within the context of Star Trek technology.
The transporter?
Yeah,
we'll talk about that.
Don't want to get too far ahead.
We'll talk about
that. That's the one thing I remember from this episode, which is the one reason I don't like it. But then we'll get into that. But I just don't like that concept. We can dig deeper later. But I will give this episode is weird.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it tries, so I'll give it that. And we'll get into that in more detail. So it's not uninteresting. It's just not very good.
Lots of good concepts, equal number of plot holes.
And maybe that's why it's your old friend Margaret Arman.
What did she do?
Cloudminders.
Oh, God.
Paradise Syndrome, and her other one is one I think I feel like there's one more that we all didn't like.
There was something, I remember you guys talking about that before, something about her, and one of the episodes she wrote before this, that there's a similar kind of, something about the dialogue. There's this weird pitch to it that is
Gamesters of Triskelion.
Gamesters of Triskelion.
Is maybe unintentionally sexist. Like maybe she doesn't realize that something about the way it sounds.
I
don't like the way she rates women because I hated Paradise and
yeah.
Cloudminders actually had good female characters.
Yes, yeah.
She does tend to put strong female characters in episodes, which is good.
Yeah.
She wrote 2 animated episodes. So we'll have a second one to get to.
What's the other one?
The Ambergris.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Ambergris?
I don't remember that very well.
I don't know. But
anyway,
title of the episode. Obviously, it's based on the legend of Lorelei, who was a siren that sung ships to their death.
Oh, I did not realize that was the name of one of the sirens.
German legend, yes.
That makes a lot of sense.
Threw herself into the Rhine in despair of her faithless lover and was transformed into a siren who lured fishermen to death.
Well, that's impressive then, actually. Maybe a little esoteric now, but that's...
Well, original Star Trek was full of these references to mythology and legend and things. So it fits regular Star Trek in that way. Mm-hmm. I really want a supercut of... Well, this could be my alternate episode. I really want, when they hear the signal on the bridge, for the view screen to have Lorelei Gilmore saying like her most annoying, ridiculous things, and all the men are like, "Oh," and the women are like, "Why are they into her?" Because I love Gilmore Girls. Lorelai, I don't find Lorelai an attractive personality, but I love Gilmore Girls. So
Is Lorelai the
mother?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't have an old episode, but I do now, which is that it's an opposite signal. It brings beautiful women to planet, and it's a 14-year-old boy.
Oh.
And that's the only way.
It's Charlie X.
That's the only way. I was saying it was me in 8th grade, but anyway. But yeah, Charlie X is good too.
Yeah, but
It's similar to this episode. It attracts beautiful women to the planet, and then has no idea what to do with them. So
I feel like that sounds like a real episode of Star Trek that would make that we would consider horribly sexist and awful.
well,
And while it may be the male's fantasy, it would be the women who are brought to him.
well, it would be horribly
Like that
sexist if it was like broadcasting like sales at clothes stores or some kind of thing like that. Then it would be terribly sexist.
God. Yeah, signal comes once every 26 point blah 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 years.
Yeah, 4
so,
years.
So space is big, right?
It's huge.
And it just so happens that a ship flies through this area of space exactly that point. Like, it was very specific. It wasn't just about 20 years.
Well,
it's also star years. I wanted to
Yeah,
note that.
stupid. They don't use that in other Star Trek.
Said the word term star years.
I missed that. I'm really disappointed. I missed that.
But seriously.
What star?
The only one that matters, of course.
What year?
What's the deal with these years?
What? I was going there. You knew where I was going. And we've established our Seinfeld part of this episode of It's All Been Trek before. Yeah, I didn't understand that 26.4 years, and like
Didn't make any sense.
they had that huge reach. They said with the signal. So
Sure.
is it every 26.4 years they need to
It
replenish?
just, yes.
Okay.
For some reason,
I
which
mean-
that wasn't clear either.
I must have been writing during those parts of the exposition because I
Yeah.
missed the significance.
But maybe, I guess, so now I'm going to answer my own question. Maybe the signal is strong enough. They just, whatever starship is closest.
Maybe, yeah.
You don't have to actually drive through the
Right.
sector.
Yeah, it
just, you locate some
Yeah.
holes.
So is this a signal that is just emanating from the planet involuntarily? Is that what
I
they're
think
saying?
their magic mirror said it. Which confused me
Yeah,
on
the what they
the
call
magic
it,
mirror
the
was.
Avawalk, or
I don't
something
know.
like that. Yeah.
But it confused me on what that was because they talk about emigrating to the planet, but it does seem to be like
Right.
some kind of magic thing that they don't understand and was already there.
Yeah, they said they had to come there, but the penalty they paid was they're immortal and sterile, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then also every 26 point something years they had to get more energy.
well, and
Okay.
of course, because a woman doesn't feel like they're a full woman unless they're having babies.
I
Can you
don't know if
imagine
that
having to
was,
live forever and not have a baby?
I don't know if that was the implication, but my confusion when she brought that up was this was about I didn't hear whether or not that was voluntary or whether or not they wanted to drain the life force or
No.
how they were attracting them or something.
No, I mean, even when they hauled Kirk and McCoy and them off, there was a tear rolling down the lead
Okay.
woman's
I
cheek.
thought that was the fluids they used to control them. 'Cause didn't they
I'm
mention
pretty
that?
sure it was...
Didn't they mention that later?
I don't think so.
I thought they did.
I thought it was just her sad that they had to drain their
No, I thought it was her.
That would be hilarious if because that
I thought they referenced later that their bodily fluids can somehow control men or whatever. As well.
that would be
Well,
very
they
suspicious.
mentioned about like pheromones or something controlling men.
Yeah,
I didn't think it was
I thought they were
fluids.
talking about. That's what I thought they were talking about.
Okay.
We'll get to that.
I mean,
Yeah.
that could...
I like it's a
now
better episode.
now
your
my
way.
mind's going to some very specific fetishes and fluids, but we won't... This is a family podcast.
It is.
So.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's in a strictly PG or whatever sense. That segues into something I was thinking about as I was watching this. Again, like the perhaps accidental sex.
Zoe's praying to God. This is her time of day where she has to
She's
pray
saying
to
Allah?
Allah. She thinks that's what she calls the Amazon speaker, whose name I won't say because it respond to me. She can't do that X sound.
That's
But it is
awesome.
really funny. She's constantly yelling to God.
The idea of women luring these men to their death, and also that statement. I think Stephen wrote this down too, where Kirk said, "You mean they're actually draining our life force?"
Yes.
It's kind of like as if you're saying, unlike normal women who just seem like they are, or who do figuratively. No, it was
Yeah.
just.
Oh, I didn't,
Yeah, that's
I did not read that implication.
Draining our life forces. I didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I didn't think about it that way, but that is interesting.
and so when you said that their tears do something, then that would be something that a man would write like, here's how the women manipulate men by using these tears to pull them in. And
That makes sense. That makes me think of the old joke about, how the average woman always outlives the man, because of course.
That too, yes.
Of course.
It's almost as if someone were taking these ideas and spinning this episode to make this horrific seeming thing that...
I thought
If
of
this hadn't been written by a woman, it would make more sense.
Draining Our Life Forces made me think of the most base, the non-PG version. And then also although it's similar in Doctor Strangelove when Kilgore's like, is it Kilgore or what? I think it's Kilgore is like, the Russians want to drain our precious bodily fluids. So that's all I could think of when they said our life forces.
But it's like an allegory for marriage or something. That's what it seemed like they were kind of putting up there.
That's interesting.
We've got a few topics to discuss on this one, so let's put to bed the women and their controlling stuff. Any other notes along those lines?
One more thing on the life forces. I wrote down it's Man Trap 3, which I'm stealing that from one of the critiques I read about it. There was somebody who's like, it's another variation on Man Trap where the guys, in this case, they're getting older or whatever, they're getting drained, but they're not.
Well, there is one last thing, but this is another point of confusion. And Spock theorized that the headbands they had on had some sort of polar inducer or something like that. He said that was responsible for the drainage.
Right?
Is that true? Then did they ever establish that was?
I don't know that it was established
Because that would imply that they were
were the
doing it
women
on
wearing
purpose.
headbands?
Most of them were.
Okay.
I mean, my biggest problem with it was Spock saying, well, we appear to age 10 years for every day.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So they clearly been down there for several days and nobody cared about the Enterprise contacting them. And then Spock, Vulcans lived like 200
I was
and
waiting
some
for
years.
him to touch on that.
And then when he's laying in that bed,
He looked older than the rest of them.
Should only be a couple of he looked like 230 years old.
Yeah.
And McCoy, like even at the age they are now, he's like, oh, we'll only live another 4 days. So McCoy lived to be like 130 or something in Star Trek lore, or longer.
Yeah.
I mean, he would know that people are living longer.
I mean, that day and age, yeah.
Well, I did catch something when they were in the base, and I think that they implied while they were there that they were far enough away from whatever signal was draining them that it was sort of a reprieve.
Yes, because they were far from the women.
So the Spock was risking more by going back and therefore getting drained faster.
Again, the
more.
10 years for every day, was he laying in that bed for like 3 weeks? Well, are people like hid in the basin that fills up unnaturally fast with water? Because apparently the whole garden around it drains into the basin?
Well, I mean...
Because that was not a driving storm. That was just a regular rain.
You might theorize that since he's the only man in proximity and gets closer to them, that he's the only source that's being pulled from, so they're not being split.
I just don't think it made it was inconsistent with the way it held up.
Of course.
I don't understand why they were going to die. I know they've been weakened, but don't they teach swimming at the academy? And if they don't, they have to. Everyone needs to know how to swim.
They were treading water.
I'm getting on my soapbox.
They were treading water just fine. So as they get to the top, just grab the rib and climb out.
Exactly, yeah. Especially as fast as it was filling up.
Yeah.
They'd just float right to the top.
Right.
You can't swim after you age up to 60.
I don't know why they were treading water instead of just back floating. That would have been less effort. It's not like they had to worry about sharks.
And the way that
anything.
thing was shaped, it had ledges in there they could just stand on.
They could have.
Yeah. Doesn't make sense.
What really didn't make sense, my biggest thing, I think, was, hey, the men are hallucinating, the women aren't. Let's beam down a party of all men to check it out.
Was the idea there that Kirk made that decision under duress, but...
But you heard Chapel would have spoken up because they were already figuring that out.
Right, yeah. But I thought Kirk kind of poo-pooed that or something.
They kind of jumped ahead, like maybe they just kind of like, we're out of here before they even had a discussion.
And he asked, good idea. Get Dr. McCoy up here to give us an examination. It's like, Nurse Chapel couldn't just be like, no, you're crazy. There's something wrong with you. That's my evaluation.
I mean, we know she's working on her doctorate by now because she's a doctor by the motion picture.
Right, so by the way, we're on Chapel. I like her blonde hair being back.
Yes.
And it looks better here than it ever did, her wig did on the show.
I'd like to re-ask one of my canon questions during the episode, which was, I always thought there was only one doctor per ship. That's the way it always seemed during the series, like each one of the different...
No, we saw other doctors. That's why there's a chief medical officer.
Seemingly a bunch of orderlies, because there's always a bunch of guys just hanging out.
Yeah,
so they can get karate chopped by somebody trying to
I guess he couldn't be on duty 24 hours a day, right? So they probably should have shifts, but you never really seem to see that in like the Enterprise for like incineration or... So that's interesting.
I did like Uhura and Chapel taking charge, even
Finally.
though, like, I'm sure I know there are other female lieutenants that can step in and help, but...
Yeah, and they said, Nichelle Nichols was obviously super excited for this episode, and
Sure.
and they did mention that the reason they want to do it in the 60s, but it was too sexist, but by 1973, they're like, yeah, sure, women can captain this.
And it's a cartoon, so they're probably not paying attention.
Right, yeah.
So was this the first log by Uhura, or the only one, or?
I think so.
Probably. Yeah, I really wished this was live action just for Nichelle Nichols.
The other part I loved about it is once they beamed down, they were just like shooting everything.
Well, yeah, Uhura was like, "Give me back my people, or I'm going to shoot your vase."
Yeah,
Shoot the vase preemptively.
They just started mowing people down. It was great.
It took one vase, and Vila was like, "Okay, I give up."
It just made me think of
It was her favorite vase. She got it for her birthday. Did you miss that? No, just kidding.
It made me think of the bartender in Anchorman who's like, women can do stuff now.
I mean, that was the part of the episode I liked.
Yeah, me
It
too.
really.
Me too.
Yeah.
Like,
Although I did notice when they first beamed down, Chapel was briefly in a red shirt and then went back to blue.
that was one of the notes I saw. Yeah,
Because I was
yeah.
like,
Didn't catch it.
wait a second, did they just reuse the Chapel head on a red shirted woman?
It's weird
But
when
no.
I do the research how often they're like, oh yeah, this thing happened where, and this is in a later episode, where somebody is supposed to be on the view screen, then all of a sudden it looks like they're on the Enterprise, then they're back on the view screen. Like,
I mean, for the animated series, we should have these mistakes.
I know, and
Right?
I know I don't know animation, but yeah.
It's the Hanna-Barbera effect of them reusing footage probably in other.
Well, they definitely reuse like the shot of up above the bridge with your splayed wheels.
Yes, yeah.
And I love that the magic mirror not only showed the Enterprise, but had that same up above the bridge shot. Just like the cage
Yep,
cameras for
yep.
the Telosians.
Yep.
The Telosians probably left that magic mirror on the planet.
Probably, just like the Guardian of Forever is everywhere.
No, he's
He's only in one place, but yeah. Two more things about the women. The
The
women.
Guardian of Forever and the Magic Mirror brothers. They should have a spin-off
probably-
where they move back in together.
It's an odd couple thing.
Yeah.
The woman science team. They assembled a woman science team.
I love it. All right.
What?
So this is part of the thing I was talking about, the awkward sounding dialogue.
Yeah.
I love those little. We need a woman. Yeah.
See, even
I
Zoe
put-
thinks it's funny.
Yeah.
I put varsity, the varsity women's science team, and they had something else later on, like just something about the way they said we need a female blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It makes sense sort of, but it's just something about the way they said it. It's kind of awkward.
It did, and when Spock makes it to the drawer of communicators and he's talking about, why didn't he just beam aboard?
Why did he... Yeah, that, and why did he... Was he crawling by the top of the steps? It wasn't that long a staircase.
And my other thought was, in my mind, he said, please beam down a female party, not landing party, as in, and then so they beam down like, it's whatever, it's like
That's in the porn parody.
it's like the Swedish bikini
Oh my
team or whatever, or like
God.
the Budweiser fun team shows up and somebody want a party?
So,
I
transport.
hope that got on the mic.
There have been a lot of debates about how the transporter works, and some science-minded people have theorized that it actually murders you and then builds
Right.
a new version of you
Right.
down there, and there's like... concepts of theology of like, are you murdered?
Right.
Everything is transport, whatever.
Well, also just
But-
the idea of your consciousness. How can that be
Right.
reassembled?
Right.
So yeah, that does this episode. I feel like is one of the things that plays into that theory.
It
that you're
totally
murdered
does.
and you can be brought back.
Yeah.
and if the transport could really do that to like save your pattern and then use it 10 years later, to
Right.
make you
Then you
younger,
could always just
there would be
Yeah.
everybody in Starfleet
Right.
would be living forever.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
Or if they ever like die on an away mission, couldn't they just
Yes.
Well,
just something?
That's how that lieutenant that we saw died was back on the Enterprise next.
Galloway.
Yeah.
Well, and if you could do that, why couldn't you just beam those patterns? Because
Yeah.
why would you need the current person?
it's like a
you would just
backup
get the original. So it'd be a super cloning thing.
Maybe
Yeah.
it's time based. I don't know.
Yeah, I just don't like that
Buffer.
whole
No.
Yeah.
school of thought.
Has that?
Don't like it.
Have you seen that come up later? I mean, something like has it been mentioned like in the base? Because that's really.
I almost think it comes up again in the animated series, but I could be wrong.
Excuse me. Well, just the concept of what was brought up here, because of like the canon debates
Yeah.
about that is. It seems like some people draw on this.
I don't think in canon they've ever argued about the transporter murdering people and bringing them back. We know McCoy's afraid of them.
Right.
And they do still... And the fear and the accidents are brought back. In Enterprise, it's still new technology that's only used for inanimate objects until they have to start using it for people, which is like a dangerous, risky thing.
The
And
Enterprise
in-
series.
Yes,
Yeah,
the
I think it
series
is.
Enterprise.
Yeah, I
and
saw
in
that.
Star Trek The Motion Picture, a character dies in a transport
Yes,
accident.
that's what I'm remembering.
Which we'll get to soon. Commander Zahn, which has significance that we will discuss in our Star Trek Phase 2 special, which we're going to do. I think I said before we were going to do it. We're going to do it.
How would the signal affect Sulu?
It's based on maleness, I guess.
Is the character gay?
But it seems like it should be a
When
sexual.
did they establish that?
Star Trek 2009.
Sorry.
In the Dark.
But I
In
feel
the
like
Darkness or 2009. That's when they
I
established
feel like it should be a sexual preference thing. I don't know why. It just seems like.
So we should see some lesbians get into it too.
Yeah, because they talk about the pheromones too, and plus the signal. And the signal, the legend.
interesting.
I guess they only called them men, but I thought the idea was they're guys on a ship, so they want to get into port and get some girls, but some of them don't.
Even gay guys, after being on a ship for months, might start looking at.
I
mean, just like men isolated from women will go for.
But I noticed, they had the one shot of Sulu, but he wasn't reacting. But my thought was that he wasn't seeing girls like the rest of them. He was seeing a guy.
Or he was faking it to hide it because
Yeah.
no, you wouldn't do that. You would in the 60s. You would in the 23rd century. So, according to IMDb, and I don't know if this is correct, and I don't even really know how to check this, I wanted to find it. Nichelle Nichols voices the computer in this episode,
Yes.
as well as several other characters.
Yeah.
I thought they were just all Magellan. I was pretty sure the computer was Magellan.
I was too, but
Because it is Magellan everything else.
yes.
So, I'm going to think IMDb is wrong, because it's not like the credits break it
But
down.
I did read somewhere else also that this is the episode I think there's one other episode Nichelle Nichols does a ton of voices.
Yeah, but the computer, it's got to be Magellan. It's always been Magellan.
I was pretty sure it was.
I'm going to assume IMDb just got that one wrong. But I did want to talk about... Well, first of all, I think it's cool they let Nichelle do more than Uhura.
Yeah.
Mainly,
Finally.
Magel and Jimmy Doohan do all the extra voices in the series.
Mm-hmm.
But do we think Majel Barrett is a talented enough voice actress to be doing all of these roles?
All like, for example, like herself and then what?
Herself and the Enterprise computer, Chapel, the leader of the Planet of Women.
Yeah.
Oh, that was her?
Yeah,
Okay.
Thela, yeah.
Yeah, she just slowed
She
down.
voices all the women in the
slowed
series
down her
except
voice.
Uhura, typically.
Yeah.
I mean, she does have some variation.
Yeah.
Okay.
But in this episode where she's doing like 4 different voices that all sound to me pretty similar. Like I liked her Amanda, Spock's mother, in a couple episodes ago. But I just don't think she has the range to do this.
Yeah, I don't know if I didn't know it was her, if I would know it was her, and I can't.
Well,
see,
I
actually,
do.
Actually, beam me up and then beam me back with my old my old patterns before I knew that she did all the voices, and then we'll
ask.
Then we'll,
so
yeah.
we'll be an 8-year-old Steve.
Well,
Yeah.
I didn't know and I didn't notice. I would
Really?
say that. Yeah, I mean, I thought about it because of the computer.
To
which-
me, I
which
was just thinking she got the job for nepotism and not for talent.
maybe.
Speaking of voice acting, I was wondering if maybe when they do the captain's logs, especially Shatner, like, because I noticed he's very slower and he enunciates.
Mm-hmm.
I thought maybe it was like, okay, there's kids, so we need to slow it down. And then later in this episode, they all slowed down because they got sleepy, apparently. Because
Old people are sleepy. They need naps.
when you're getting Lorelei Signal, you get sleepy, I guess. Including the Enterprise.
Yeah.
Got sleepy.
Got so slow. Well, I think that was because Sulu was driving it. I did greatly enjoy listening to Scotty sing.
Yeah, that was good. All right, since we're in the voice acting segment, I noted that Nimoy sounded unusually wooden for the entire episode.
Yeah.
Like compared to like all the earlier episodes and everything else he's done, just there was something just really off about the way he sounded during this one. And Kirk, when he gets to the captain's logs, as you notice, he sounds fairly natural because that's what he would do like in the original series. Because that is just a voiceover segment where he knows how to.
Oh, right.
How to play it,
Yeah.
as opposed to like being in the action sequence, segment, and just like we were into playing off of somebody, and I'm still just
That makes sense.
But
And your notes?
a lot.
Oh, a lot. I'm sorry.
I thought if it wasn't a Saturday morning program, I liked that planet was weird, which I felt like harkened back to the old days of the series, even if they were on soundstage and they had those weird sets. You had all these women.
The design of the city itself reminded me of other Hanna-Barbera cartoons.
Yeah, that's fair.
It didn't feel
That's fair.
distinctly Star Trek.
Yeah. And if this wasn't a Saturday morning cartoon, those women would have been wearing even less.
Oh, no.
But it still made me think of, I think I've brought this up before in here, heavy metal. You guys remember that?
seen it.
I do remember.
Yeah,
that,
which is essentially similar. And some of the artwork in that is very similar to this. It's very of the 70s, except with women with it's essentially cosplaying cartoons.
I thought heavy metal was a little more upscale.
It's
than
definitely
this,
more
yeah.
sophisticated, yes. Yeah, but that's the direction.
Animation-wise.
At least this kind of took me a little bit, so I give them credit for that.
I thought this jumpsuit was in the vein of Bill Thies. It was just one of his more modest designs.
Yeah. The only other note I had was that was her line at the end. You're more handsome than ever. About her.
That bothered me, and then the
I took that as a joke.
Spock Chapel thing.
Oh yeah, when Spock called her.
Because it was almost like, okay, maybe they have dated. Even though in canon we never. It's always been unrequited love.
Can you elaborate? What was the?
When he's calling Christine.
He's using his.
He did.
Mind meld
I did
voice, sort of.
notice that he used the first name like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think he called her Christine in canon on screen. I mean, this counts as canon, but I don't remember when. But the way he did it and kept repeating it felt very odd.
Well, let's see what I have. I have a canon question here. I noticed the
Sure.
5483.8, the star date.
Oh, star dates aren't consistent on any star.
Okay, you already knew what I was going to ask. Yes.
No, don't listen to star dates. They don't make sense.
All right.
There's been many things written about how no Star Trek series has got a consistent star date down.
I think we already pointed out that Uhura was the highest ranking woman on the ship. I don't know if we said that on
Which
the
makes sense
recording
to
or
me.
not. Yeah. Which does make sense. It's just something I never really thought about before, and I thought it was interesting.
Well, she's command staff. She's the head of a whole department.
Yeah.
She's a bridge officer. That's pretty high up there.
And speaking of things that make sense, of course, it makes sense that the men are in a separate settlement. That
doesn't make sense.
Yeah, that was a line that I thought you noted, Stephen.
Which one?
When Kirk or somebody, she was saying to them, they were asking, where are the men? Oh, in a separate settlement. Oh, that makes sense.
Oh yeah.
The dialogue.
Of course, it makes sense. Yeah. I really wanted a shot of the men in the other slumber chamber. Is that what they called it? Which is really just the dead chamber, right? They're dead.
Well, yeah, they're all dead now.
Yeah.
There's none left.
Oh,
Do they still keep aging even after they're dead?
I wouldn't think so.
Like, what happens then? Do they just hit that certain age and then
They probably just start
Burn them
it's all
desiccating,
bones?
rotting or whatever.
I don't even know.
So, okay, that's something I hadn't really thought about. So I guess they were just lying, or were they just dead? They were all gone, or what happened?
I think they were dead because they acted like they
were
were
dead.
alive, but they had to be,
dead.
right?
Yeah. That's why they have to keep bringing new ships in.
Yeah.
So maybe this is a stealing from Star Trek thing, but Vila looked a lot like She-Ra to me. The outfit, the
I
headdress.
can see that. Yeah.
So yeah, there's that. Is it Vila or Thela? I thought it was
Thela.
Thela, I
Vila.
think.
Thela.
Yeah.
TH.
Oh.
Yeah.
I thought it was a V. No,
According to
TH.
IMDb.
Okay, so it's
which
TH.
we've already established is not reliable.
Well, I noted there's never a good sign when the alien of the week insists on explaining at a feast. It's like, we'll tell you about that later. Let's have a feast first.
And then we'll drug your drinks.
Yeah.
Yeah, Memory Alpha has her as Thela too, so that's probably correct.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we were asking about this when the episode ended, and you said you were gonna give us an answer.
Yes.
What were they talking about? So they made it sound like they fixed the problem somehow. Like, okay, we no longer have to worry about being immortal. Yeah, they no longer have to worry about being immortal and draining people. What did they do to fix it?
They're taking them to another planet. They're going to send an all-female crew to pick them up and take them to another planet.
So the planet was doing it?
Yeah, the energy draining thing they said was a symptom of settling on this planet.
So it wasn't the women's fault.
Right.
They're not murderers. The planet.
Well, I mean, could they just send the signal and say, "Hey, come pick us up and take us somewhere"?
Yeah,
Instead
yeah, they
of
could-
sending the murder signal.
That was strange. Yeah,
They
so
did
how
seem
did that-
awfully happy to accept, but I feel like they should have tried it before.
Yeah.
It does seem like another episode where at the end it's like, we know you killed a bunch of people, but you know what, you little rascal.
And they were so happy.
Yeah. At that point, it wasn't a Lorelei signal. It was just these were beautiful blonde Norwegian type women that were,
So it's
which made me think even more of heavy metal because all the super women in that seemed like 6 foot muscular beautiful blondes. Anyway.
Yeah, very little variation from each other. There's like very slight.
Yeah.
They almost looked like copies of each other up to
Yeah.
a certain point.
They did, unlike the Enterprise crew when they beamed down, that all had completely
Yeah.
different
Yeah.
color and
Yeah.
hairstyles, although they were all white
Yeah.
except for her.
Of course.
Well, that was one of the things I wanted to not about the color, but I wanted to note that this seemed like the most women I'd seen on screen in any Star Trek episode.
the one
of
woman
anything.
had freckles.
Yeah, the freckle one was very attractive.
Yeah.
So it's like they were showing we could do this if we wanted to. We could have
Yeah.
all kinds of different women and just throw them in, add new.
Or it
female
was,
characters.
all right, here's your all women episode.
Yeah, but they don't.
That's it for the season.
I noticed that the ship couldn't be drunk because it was flying horizontally across the screen.
Well, I guess if the planet...
That's just the camera angle. It could be any angle.
You know what?
exactly.
If the planet can send a signal, I guess a ship can get drunk. Yeah. I guess inanimate objects can do these things.
The lazily flying across as Scotty was singing.
I wish it had just been
straight.
erratically, just started going down.
Yeah. I was going to ask Stephen, because he made a comment toward the end before we started recording. Do you think that you need more pieces of paper because it's lesser quality, or because it's more there's more novelty to the episode?
I think it's, for me, it's with a lot of the other episodes, like I know these, I've seen them a million times, so it's like, oh yeah, I know that part. So it's not, in my brain, it's not noteworthy because I'm thinking, oh, I already know this. This is already tucked away. Whereas with these, it's a little more.
What other hits you got, Keith?
The only other things I have really relate to probably the woman of the episode thing, which we're probably
sure. Who's your woman of the episode? You currently have the Cloud from one of our planets. Of course, because Keith loves gaseous form.
We know that we do.
I'm going on a limb and say that I want Thela for two reasons. One, because she actually has a name.
Yeah.
Well, actually, okay, three reasons. She is the head female.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah,
and she keeps noting to everyone.
Sure.
And because she has a beautiful singing voice.
She does.
I will say most of my favorite women have names. I will say that about them.
Most.
Yeah.
You still have Gray, in parentheses, Madeline Kahn. From yesteryear.
Yeah. I'm going with Thela too.
Thela?
Yeah.
I wanted to go with Thela from the beginning, and then
Freckles.
The Freckles.
Right? I mean, Freckles was attractive.
Yeah, with Freckles.
But I think, if she had had any lines at all, I think she could have.
Yeah, that's true.
But I think I'm going to go with the very specific Spock's vision of Thela.
The Vulcan drummer.
Yeah,
that's who I started with.
Yeah.
Vulcan drummer.
Yeah.
Okay, Vulcan drummer. I'll put that because
just-
that was the pure woman before we got into all the crap,
right.
and I did not end up. I mean, Thela kind of ticked me off, so we're going with the Vulcan drummer. Although Yeoman Freckles is a strong. She even had one line. She even had one line or a name.
I hope that sticks somewhere. Yeoman Freckles.
I mean, of the extras in that scene, she was the most attractive.
I'm disappointed that no one was named Lorelei in this, but you did give.
I was waiting for that too.
Yeah.
I wanted it.
No,
there
that
it
would
is.
have been awful.
It would have been.
That would have been really bad. Okay, so next week we will be discussing.
Are we rating
we
the
gotta rate
episodes
the
too?
episode.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Oh wow! All right.
Let's rank it below yesteryear.
Yes.
Above or below one of our planets is missing.
I'm going to go below.
Keith?
This one at least makes more sense. And I mean,
It didn't make a lot of sense.
I mean, in a linear storytelling sense, there are plot holes, but
Yeah.
the other thing was.
I think one of my planets is missing might be more solid through line, but I think this one's more interesting.
yeah.
For good and bad reasons.
I tend to go with the more solid through line, and
Yeah.
I'm looking up stuff about this. It does have Bob Wesley. It does have some cool elements. Okay, I'll go below.
So you're saying Lorelei's below the
One of
cloud?
our planets is missing, yes.
Yeah. I'm fine. I mean, I'm torn too. Obviously, it's just I don't have a good recollection of the cloud one right now.
I had to look stuff up and read stuff as we were talking. But yeah, I think I'm going to go with, not strongly, I think they're pretty close, but
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, so we'll put this as in number 3 of 4 for now. And next week we will be discussing More Trouble, More Tribbles. Written by Jimmy-Jerome, who wrote The Trouble with Tribbles.
Oh wow!
And Cyrano Jones again infiltrates the ship with tribbles that now grow to monstrous size. Until then, live long, prosper, and don't answer any strange signals from space.
It's All Been Done presents.
Who's got the time?